Industrial Talk Podcast with Scott MacKenzie. Scott is a passionate industry professional dedicated to transferring cutting-edge, industry-focused innovations and trends while highlighting the men and women who keep the world moving. So put on your hard hat, grab your work boots, and let's go.
All right, once again, thank you very much for joining Industrial Talk, and thank you for your continued support of this platform. This platform that celebrates industry professionals all around the world. You are bold, brave, you dare greatly. You innovate, you collaborate, you solve problems, and therefore you are making the world a better place. Thank you very much for definitely joining and your continued support. We are broadcasting at IoT Solutions World Congress here in beautiful Barcelona. Put that on your bucket list for next year. If you're not here today or tomorrow or this year, make it a priority. Make IoT Solutions World Congress a priority. It's also got cyber stuff too. It's all here. All right, in the heart seat. He's been on the show before. His name is Mark Kraeling, right? Did I get Kraeling right?
Kraeling.
Kraeling, that's right.
I've heard it pronounced a variety of ways. So.
I see the R. Kraeling. Wabtech is the company. We're going to be talking a lot about what's the latest and greatest taking place within his world, because we need to have an update. So let's get cracking. So, Captain.
How you doing, Scott? It's great to see you again.
It's great to be seen. I got to tell you, man.
It's great to see your show at conferences like this, and I know if Industrial Talk is here, it must be something worth going to. So I appreciate seeing you again.
There it is.
It's awesome.
Yeah, there it is. No, back at you on that one. Has it been a good one?
Yes.
Good conference?
Excellent conference. Very good content. I really like that we're now starting to branch out a little bit and talk more about sustainability, doing what's right for the environment. I think that's been missing in years past. I think it was all about, hey, let's collect some data and look for quote-unquote insights. But I think it's important to do something, give back to the environment. And I think it's great that we're talking about sustainability causes at the show. It's excellent.
It has expanded. I mean, I've been coming here for, 6 years or so, give or take a few. And just in that short period of time, it has changed dramatically from the conversations we were having versus what we're talking about today, and how fast and rapid the technology and the innovation's happening. And from my perspective, I don't even see how humans can keep up with it. I just don't. It's just and how to leverage it for, your organization. I don't know.
It's been an absolutely great experience. So it's good to finally move from let's just talk about IoT and collecting data to actually doing something positive with it.
Yeah.
So I think that's the excellent part of this whole conference.
No, you're spot on. For the listeners out there, Mark, give us just a little background on who you are and explain a little bit about Wabtech.
Sure. As was introduced, my name is Mark Kraeling. I work at Wabtech. I reside in Melbourne, Florida, United States, and I work for Wabtech's Trained Performance Group. So I am a solutions architect, responsible for putting together various product solutions, a lot of design, integration directly for our customers. So my job is to make our customers happy as best as I can. So Wabtech is 27,000 employees in over 50 countries worldwide. So it's a big presence, but it's probably the one, maybe the one company that you haven't really heard of. We're kind of in the background getting things done. So,
yeah, when we first had this conversation, I think it was a couple of years back. I can't remember about that. I remember going, well, who's Wabtech?
Right.
And it's like, it's GE. Oh!
That's correct. Yeah, Wabtech has acquired Faiveley Corporation, which was a big, very large transit company in France, actually. They still go by the Faiveley name. And then as you referenced, Wabtech also acquired GE Transportation. So that entire locomotive division and everything they do there is now underneath Wabtech. So it's a big company.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, big time. So in our last conversations, we were talking about how you're using devices and allowing those devices to send you data to make it better, make the operation safer, whatever it might be. What has changed since the last conversation?
So I believe, Scott, the biggest thing that's changed is that we are more than ever working very closely with our customers to meet sustainability and green causes. They want to save fuel. Now, obviously, saving fuel means you're saving money. If you're not using as much fuel to move freight, yes, you save money, but think about the impact that has on the environment. So just to give you an idea, Scott, and I don't think I used this data last time.
No.
In the United States, rail moves around 40% of the freight. And obviously trucks and ships do some of that too. But for the United States, trains move 40% of the freight, yet we are responsible for less than 2% of the transportation-related greenhouse gases. So it's a much better way, much better way to move freight. So instead of having a truck, which is going to obviously going to be congestion on the highway, stop, go, not as efficient. For every 1 ton of freight, 1 ton of freight that's moved on a rail car in a train, it takes about 1 gallon of fuel to move that ton of freight about 500 miles. So we're not using, because we have such great, big, long, heavy trains that don't necessarily need to stop if they're going straight through, we save a tremendous amount of fuel. So for us, it's working with our customers, having their customers realize that it's a very efficient way to move freight as opposed to using trucks.
But you still need to use whatever that last mile is. You're still going to have to offload and use that last mile. But then moving it across country, I didn't know that. That's mind-boggling.
Yeah, and trains can be miles long. So they're moving roughly around 80 to 90 million pounds as an average train. So it is a tremendous amount of goods that are getting hauled. So a rail car typically can haul right around 300,000 pounds, whereas a truck in the United States is limited by the highway. They can haul no more than 80,000 pounds. So a single rail car can do 300,000 pounds quite easily. So put a whole bunch of the cars in a train, maybe 240 of those cars, and all of a sudden you're moving a tremendous amount all in one go.
And because I'm ignorant to this whole the train business, I get it. I understand the efficiency that is gained as a result of the train. But if I'm from the West Coast and I got to go to the East Coast and I load up a train, not everything's going to that one destination. It has to. That to me is just an amazing coordination of how to get things from A to B. You can load it all up in the West Coast, but it's got to get to B, whatever that is.
So Wabtech is instrumental in a lot of that. Okay, so one product we have is called Port Optimizer, which actually helps ports figure out which ships should come in when, based on which trains are available to move the freight, or which docks are full because they haven't quite moved those shipping containers out. So again, Port Optimizer looks at an entire plan over the course of days to help them figure out exactly what ships should come in first, second, third, where they should be positioned, which docks, etc. So Wabtech is integral to that. And then as the freight moves, I would probably, Scott, for you, I'd probably call it like a airport terminal.
Yeah. You
land in Chicago, now your plane, you have to go to Des Moines, Iowa, so you got to go to that gate. So freight cars are much the same way. The trains pull into yards, and they have switching where cars go into basically different tracks. And then once that track has the right amount of cars in it, it says, okay, now let's make a train that goes from here to the next destination. So it's very similar to, logistics-wise, it's similar to moving people. Obviously, there's a lot more to it, right?
Well, of course.
Because then you have to have all these things stored and sectioned. And sometimes, again, with Wabtech automation products, we're helping them figure out what's the best way to move that freight, from point A to point B through rail yards, as you said. And as you said, we're also looking at various projects for the last mile to come up with various efficiencies for that as well, as far as loading and unloading goes in yards.
I'm dumbfounded, speechless. I've never really had that thought around how to move. We talk supply chain, we talk about sourcing and all of the stuff associated with it, but and we always have conversations around trucks.
Yep.
And we lack the conversation around trains.
Freight trains are extremely important, not only in the United States, but obviously mining operations in Australia, South Africa. So Wabtech has the reason why we have presence in over 50 countries is because we have railroad operations in a lot of these places. But Wabtech also does do mining. We've got mining products as well. So we're not only just looking strictly at freight trains, we're also doing transit, passengers, and of course mining as well. So
how are you using the IoT, the analytics to be able to maintain all of these assets?
Yeah, as you suggest, it's a tremendous amount of data, right? And the other interesting part is that trains go in places that don't necessarily have cellular coverage, right? Because it's going to be in fairly remote locations, et cetera. And of course, cell towers aren't typically put up to address those sorts of needs. So when we're collecting data and pulling it out of the different systems around a train, we actually have to store it, because it could be up to days before we get back into a cellular coverage, especially in places like South America and Brazil. So we have to have the capability of not only collecting data, store it securely to make sure it can't be tampered with or used outside of the purposes that we work with our customers on, and then we have to process the data. So typically we'll offload it and maybe do some AI learning, et cetera, from the data. But we also have to do onboard processing as well, because if you're out in the middle of nowhere and you don't have connectivity, you can't wait for the cloud to tell you what to do. So there's a tremendous amount of processing that happens on a locomotive measured in billions of instructions per second. So whether it's the control system, some of our diagnostic systems, smart cruise control for trains, what we call Trip Optimizer, all of those things are operating data continuously on the train. So because trains haul so much freight and it's very critical infrastructure, we want to help our customers make that operation more efficient, number one, and number two, make sure the trains keep moving once they start.
With that, how do you approach the maintenance of these assets? You're collecting data, you're looking at it, you're making determinations of the health of that asset, and granted, these are remote, so you have to be pretty proactive in the maintaining of these assets. You can't just have it go down. Yep,
no, that's absolutely true, because you do not want to have a train stop on the main line because nobody else can go around them, right? That's horrible. So one of our products we have is actually called Expert on Alert. Quite simply, it's looking at a lot of various diagnostics of the control system, the traction motors, various aspects of the locomotive and locomotives themselves, and we actually score it. So simplistically, I'll say green, yellow, red, so that when they're in a yard and they're putting a train together, they say, okay, which are my best locomotives that I can possibly use right now? They'll go grab some green ones and put them on the train. Now, obviously, ones that are red have an issue, right, that needs to be addressed. So Expert Alert can go so far as to help our customers, pre-order parts, make sure the locomotive goes to a maintenance facility that can handle that type of repair. And then the most important ones are the yellow locomotives. We think there's something going wrong.
How do you sweat that asset, or do you?
Do you still use it, or do you? Again, with Expert Alert, we're looking at the data, so we'll actually, if we know that locomotive's going from point A to point B, it can go so far as to help the customer order parts so that when it gets to B, we can do some preventive maintenance to actually make sure that locomotive goes from yellow back to green again.
How is Wabtech using AI? Is it happening? What do you think about it?
Yeah, no, AI is extremely important. It's a processing technology that we are starting our journey to take advantage of. So we've got various products, a lot that I can't quite talk about yet. Scott, next year I'll talk about what exactly we've done. We will do that because they're under development, but it is a disruptive technology for sure, but we don't want to make it disruptive to our customers. So we are not flipping a switch and saying, okay, automatically, all the ways that we know how to do things, step A, step B, step C, we don't want to just throw those away, but we want AI to learn from what we've already learned. So for us, a lot of the AI is happening in parallel, and we're gaining insights from AI that we couldn't necessarily see from the original data. So think of it like something you have on the side. So we're not ripping up control systems and taking things out that work well for our customers and replacing them with AI. We're doing it in a parallel fashion to gain new insights. Now, certainly as the technology evolves and advances, and all of a sudden it's now making better decisions than maybe what we made before, then we can be more confident, again, working with our customers to put it in.
Because when you said yellow, but that whole AI solution can make that give you greater confidence in the type of yellow.
Exactly.
What it is.
Exactly right.
Because it without a doubt, and I'm sure there's a tsunami of data. It's coming at you, and the ability to be able to analyze the data in a way that it makes it meaningful is a challenge. But you're doing it, and that's how I see that AI product, being able to take all that data, create a more clear picture of what's really happening in your business.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. So again, having it as I'll call it a parallel technology, keeping our control systems and the methods that we know how to do things, maybe call them bumper guards or something to make sure AI isn't going completely out, quote unquote off the rails, right? But it's definitely a technology Wabtech is taking advantage of, as long as we make sure that the AI, when we're doing it, isn't just to do it, it's actually delivering something for our customer.
You never disappoint. I got to tell you, that whole data, that wow factor, the 40% of freight, 2% of the fuel,
2% of greenhouse gas
gases. That's mind-boggling. I didn't know that. Just didn't know.
Great seeing you again, Scott.
Yeah. How do people get a hold of you? You out on LinkedIn?
Yes, I am. Mark Kraeling. You're going to have the information, I'm sure, on your podcast when it gets published. So.
See, he's already going right about. Yeah. All right. Mark, you were great.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you very much for joining Industrial Talk. We're going to have all the contact information, as he said, out on Industrial Talk, so fear not, reach out to him. We just scratched the surface in Mark's knowledge of what's taking place. It's always really unique. All right, we're broadcasting here in Barcelona, IoT Solutions World Congress. Put this on your calendar for next year. It is a must. It's a beautiful venue, beautiful place, but more importantly, just great bunch of people wanting to solve problems and challenges that you're dealing with. Stay tuned. We will be right back.
You're listening to the Industrial Talk Podcast Network.
Again, that's Mark. Wabtech is the company. IoT Solutions World Congress was the event. And boy, is there a lot of happening at Wabtech in the world of transportation. Of course, it's a GE transportation company too as well. So a lot of connections. And they're doing a lot in the world of sustainability, as you can tell. Data, making things more efficient. A lot of information. Check it out again on how what they're doing is truly spectacular. All right, you have a podcast, you have technology, you want to be on a podcast, you need to just go, it's simple. Go out to Industrial Talk. It is the central location. You want to find individuals that are talking about, well, transportation, Mark's out there. But if you have a podcast, you're thinking about doing a podcast, you want to promote it on Industrial Talk, it's all there. Go out, reach out to me, have a chat. We'll make it happen. All right, be bold, be brave, dare greatly. Hang out with Mark, and you will change the world. We're going to have another great conversation shortly, so stay tuned.